go fishing, let's go dancing, let's keep singing. Let's go fishing, let's go dancing, let's keep singing.
G'day guys, welcome to a player focus edition of My Blue Heaven. Today I'm going to run a close eye over Zac Fisher and where Zac fits into the scheme of things, or where I think he sits into the scheme of things moving forward. And this is on the back of a couple of other videos I've done, one on Will Setterfield and then another on Matthew Kennedy a while back now. So if you're new to the channel and haven't seen those, please check them out. Zac Fisher, wearing the number 25, probably one of the most iconic numbers in the history of our football club, made famous obviously by Alex Jesaulenko, premiership player, premiership coach, true legend of the football club, and then another legend in Brendan Favola. It's been a little bit of a hit and miss in between Jezza and Fev, and then now Fev and Zac Fisher. Clem Smith was the last to wear it before Zac with 7 games, and Luke Mitchell before him with just the 1 game. So they're hoping that Fisher can make it his own and make him one of the greats of the Carlton Football Club. And he's had a pretty good start when you break his numbers down. He's played 56 games out of a possible 75 since arriving to the club. So if we break down his years thus far in terms of games, it was 17 in his first season, 17 in his second season before he was cut down with a broken leg against Hawthorn, courtesy of a really crude trick by Daniel Howe. And coincidentally finished 7th in the best and fairest in his second season, which was particularly impressive, and may have finished higher if he was able to finish that year out. And then played the 21 games last season and just missed the 1 game. I had to check through the guide just to see what game that was. It was actually, this is a brilliant addition, it was round 19 against the Adelaide Crows at the MCG, and he missed through illness and he was a late out of that game. So could have played the 22 last year and only played the 1 thus far this year because of an ankle injury. Played the first game of the year against the Tigers. Then when the shit hit the fan and we went into isolation, he spent most of that time in rehab. There's no doubt, there's no doubt that his season last year, there was a perception that he stagnated and didn't move forward. I would probably say that that's probably a little bit unfair because I think he jumped really quickly in his second year and that came out of the box. So we were probably expecting him to go that extra level, which is pretty unfair for a third-year player who really essentially is a pick number 27. It wasn't like he came in as a first-round draft pick. So we need to be realistic with that. And I'm going to talk about his strengths and weaknesses shortly, but I think he showed in that period of time that he could be a really, really important player for us moving forward. So let's have a look at his numbers in terms of possessions and try and break that down a little bit. 14 times in those 56 games that he's had over 20 touches. That's really impressive. And 3 times over 25. And only 4 times in those 56 games that he's dropped under double figures. So he knows how to find the pill. And for a young player coming into the system, that's particularly impressive moving forward. So one thing we know about Zac Fisher, he can find it. He can find the sharing. So he averages the 17 disposals. And I think he can be pretty damaging with those disposals. And I don't think he wastes them. So they're not junk 17 touches. He's kicked the 21 goals, so he's not a huge goal kicker, but I think he has shown that he has quite a good nous around the big sticks. And he's never, interesting enough, when I was looking through the stats, he's never kicked multiple goals, Zac Fisher. So that's something he could work on moving forward, particularly if we see him this year when he gets an opportunity that he will probably play that sort of more forward midfield role rather than midfield forward. He'll need to be able to find the goals on a more regular basis. I like him, as I said, seventh in the best and fairest in the second season. And I reckon he's got a really strong all-round game. And what I mean by that, if you look at his stats, he averages 3 clearances a game. And for a youngster of his size, it says he's got quite a strong inside game. And I reckon he's pretty damaging on the outside as well. So he's multi-dimensional in that aspect. And he averages the 10 uncontested possessions and the 9 contested possessions. So I reckon that's a really, really nice balance. That syndesmosis injury that he copped this year has certainly stopped him in his progress. I'll talk about that in a minute as one of his concerns in the way, not so much the way he plays, but how I see him moving forward with us in terms of what position he wants to play. So let's look at Zac's strengths. I think there's no doubt that he has an awareness. So he's particularly good in traffic to find the pill and then with clean hands find an opponent by hand. And I like his ability to pull a kick around the corner and look for space of an opponent and put the ball to an advantage of one of our opponents. I mean, obviously he's very one-sided. He's not great on his right side. He's a left footer. But when he's on his left, he's got great vision with his left foot and he thinks about what he's going to do with the pill. When I do my player ratings each week, I like to write a comment as well. If you haven't seen those, I'll put a link out on my Facebook page and my Twitter account where you can go through all the ratings and comments that I put for each player after each game. This is what I said about Zac Fisher after his round 1 game, where I gave him a 6 out of 10 against the Tigers. This is what I said. When most of our players couldn't hit the side of a barn in the first half, Fisher at least was one bloke who put the ball to our advantage for our forwards. Okay, and then I went on to say, I thought it was a step in the right direction for Zac. After an up and down 2019, we need him to become a very good player for us. So that was my comments about him after round 1, and we were really looking for him to build. So it's been disappointing that we haven't been able to see him. I think he reads the play very well, and I reckon for me, this is, for us moving forward, I think this aspect or this strength could be our biggest weapon in regards to Zac Fisher. I think potentially he could be our best meters gained player with David Cunningham. I think he's got the ability to carry the ball, and I think as he gets a little bit stronger, I think his kicking has got great penetration as well. And I don't think we've got a lot of players who do that. I think he could complement Will Setterfield and Patrick Cripps moving forward. And I think what Fisher did show that he worked really well with Patrick Cripps when given that opportunity second season when the likes of Matthew Kennedy and also Mark Murphy were injured. And I think that's going to be something that we will look forward to from Zac Fisher moving forward. That I think that meters gain is very important for us. He's elusive and clever. He can turn on a threatening bit. I remember, a couple of times, there's some great footage of his ability to spin out of trouble and to do something really, really good with the ball. And you can't teach that. You can't teach that sort of stuff. So I think that's really impressive by Zac as well. And I think the thing I like about him, he's got a bit of a cheekiness about him. He works hard, but he's not scared. He has a crack. He tackles, and he likes to get his hands dirty. So in saying all that, okay, what do I perceive to be the problem with Zac Fisher? Not so much the problem, the areas of weakness. And I suppose the biggest knock on Zac would be his size. At 177 centimetres and only 7 kgs, you can't see him putting on a lot more weight. And 177 is pretty small. So if he's going to play midfield that's always going to cost him unless he's got some real weapons to his game, which he has. But his size is always going to be a problem, particularly around the stoppage, because he's going to be easily pushed out of the way. So that is something that we need to think about constantly with Zac. So where is his best position in terms of his size? Because there are not a lot of 177 centimetre, I suppose, midfielders, okay? Because essentially they get pushed around at the stoppage. So his size is always going to be a concern for me. The other one that I think is something that he needs to watch moving forward, and I suppose this goes a long way to finding out where Zac Fisher actually fits for us, is his endurance. And how do I know, or why am I saying endurance? Because I don't think he has a particularly good tank. It was a knock on him when he first came into the system. If you go back through his draft notes, one area that he needed to improve on was his fitness and his endurance, and I don't think it comes naturally to him. It's not like a Graham Myers who's just got this innate ability to run all day. It's an area that Zac Fisher needs to really, really work at. Now, I love to get to training. It's one of the things I love to do, is to go and observe training. Watch the boys, obviously, with their skills and all that type of stuff. But the one thing I like to cast an eye over the most is the running sessions. And what I've noticed over the last couple of years that is Zac Fisher is always at the back of the, I suppose, the endurance runs. And it's always quite surprised me as someone of his size. I suppose there is a perception that when you're 177 centimetres, that you can run like the wind. And unfortunately, I don't think it comes naturally to him. So it says a couple of things to me in that regards, that he needs to bloody work hard at it and get better at it. But it also says to me that they're being very conscious of that at the moment and not playing him. And that's what's taken him so long, I reckon, to get a game this year. Although he was picked to come in against the Saints, I think, from memory, and then was laid out with gastro. But his tank is not good, okay? His tank is not great. He's always at the back of the running groups. And if you watch Zac closely in games, he's a good starter to games, but he really does start to struggle after half time. So where does he fit? Can he, if you haven't got a tank, can he play on the wing? I think wingers essentially now need to be able to run both ways, constantly run both ways all day. That's what we've got. That's why Mark Murphy continues to get a game. And that's why Sam Walsh is playing on the wing at the moment. And that's why probably Jack Nunes is getting those opportunities as well, because they've all got pretty good tanks and they can get up and down the ground constantly. Now, I don't think you can just bring Zac Fisher into the team and expect him to play on the wing. So how can you use a player who struggles with endurance to best benefit the team? At the moment, it could be a forward role. And pinch hit in the middle until he builds that tank, because I can't see him being a permanent midfielder until that happens, because he's unable to sustain it for a whole game one, and secondly, he's unable to be able to spread from a stoppage continually, so it's a repeat spread because he just gets too tired, and also he's not able to push back defensively and help out in the back half. Okay, so I see that as his main area of weakness, but it's something that Andrew Russell can work with moving forward. Now, a couple of things, okay, with Zac. It's all positive for me in that regard. I think he is one that we can hope can show a lot moving forward for us and be an integral part of this football team. What I am hearing a lot of, and I think it's a really good discussion to have, and that is the fact that he's a Western Australian from the small place of York, just I think 90 k's north of Perth, if I'm right. I did read that. There's always this temptation that someone like Zac Fisher, and particularly the fact there's a lot of supporters saying now, why isn't he getting a game? And I hope I've explained that. I think the reason why he's not getting a game because he's just not fit. And he's missed 8 weeks of football, and endurance is not one of his strong suits. So you can't bring a bloke in who's got poor endurance and has missed 8 weeks of football and think he's just going to perform. So we need to be realistic with that. But at the same time, we've got questions now. If he's not getting a game, he's just want to leave. He'll want to leave, okay? I don't think that's the case for a start, okay? For a start, he's contracted to the end of next year, all right? So he's still got another year running on his contract. I want to just read something when he signed in 2018. This is what Zac Fisher said. Now, a lot of this is spin. You know, you read this on the website and stuff like that. But this is what he said, and it impressed me. This is what he said after he signed. I want to continue to learn the craft and do what the coaches need me to do out there every week. We are a tight, okay, Carlton, the team, knit group, okay, in it for the long haul, together. And we're really determined to get this club back up the ladder. Now, Zac's got another year to run on his contract, okay? And he's got plenty of time to get back into this team this year, and obviously got next year as well. He's not going anywhere at the end of the year unless a club comes to him, okay? And we're going to have to trade for him. All right. Now, I can't see that happening, but for the sake of this conversation, what would that look like? So the club's going to have to come to Zac now, okay, and they're going to have to offer us a draft pick for him. I think he's easily held his draft value. Pick number 27 in a draft, I think we easily get that for him. So he holds his draft value, and the fact that he's contracted, and if he wanted to go at the end of this year, I think we could probably even get even better that for him. Close, maybe a late first round pick, easily for Zac Fisher, maybe even better. Okay, so let's not worry about that too much. Okay, let's have a look though. Pick 27, I think it's a really good pick by Sauce. Okay, he gets a lot of criticism, Stephen Silvani, but pick 27, it can be a bit of a hit and miss. And I think 56 games out of 75, he showed a fair bit already that he could be a pretty bloody good player for us. I love to look at the players around. Okay, who went around? Now, Brandon Parfitt, he went the pick before Fisher to Geelong. I think Parfitt's come along really well this year for the Cats. He's a different type of player to Zac Fisher, but I'd be happy with both. Say, for example, Geelong took Fisher, they'd be happy with Fisher, and I'd be bloody happy with Brandon Parfitt as well. So they're the types of players that were taken around that pick. Then you have Patrick Lipinski at pick 28 at the Doggies, who's coming along nicely, but I'm just as happy with say, a Fisher. Then it gets a little bit more interesting. Shai Bolton at 29, and we know what Bolton has been able to do. Obviously, premiership player last year with the Tigers, and has really come on in leaps and bounds this year as a midfielder. But he is in a really strong side as well, Shai Bolton. Then a couple of big blokes. We didn't really want big blokes, but just for the sake of this, Sean Darcy at 38. Interesting one, Tom Stewart, mature age crew, taking a pick 40. Radagalier at pick 43. And then Willie Rioli, pick 53. Jack Graham's an interesting one at the Tigers. Big, hard-bodied midfielder who loves to tackle. Quinton Narkle, another later pick as well. And then you go to the rookie draft, which, you know, a lot of teams missed out on. A lot of clubs missed out on Rowan Marshall and Cam Zurhaar. So I think at pick 27, I think we'll be happy with the productivity so far that we've seen from Zac Fisher. I now would like to finish off. I think we will see him this weekend against the Eagles. I think he'll come in. By the time this show goes to air, I think we'll find that on the extended bench, we'll see the name of Zac Fisher. I think he replaces David Cunningham in the team. It just seems a like for a like. That sort of more forward midfield role at this stage will suit Zac Fisher, just because of the fact that we want to ease him back into it. And his fitness is not at the level where it probably should be. Finally, though, interesting one in regards to Kane Little and an interview he did for afl.com.au over the last couple of days in regards to trades, okay, and bringing in ready-made players from other clubs. and what it looks like moving forward. Now, what I took out of this interview with Little was that we need to be very careful in the type of player we bring in and who we target, and make sure the bloke we bring in is actually going to suit us in a position. And we need to know, and this is the thing I got out of this interview, we need to know what the likes of, and he mentioned these players: Paddy Dow, Lockie O'Brien, Liam Stocker, Tom DeConning, and Zac Fisher. He mentioned those players. We need to know their strengths. We need to know their best positions and where they're going to suit us moving forward before we go away and decide what players we want to bring to the football club. That says a clear message to me that we need to start seeing where these players are at. Okay, we need to start seeing and giving them some opportunities. Now, I have mentioned that David Teague has been playing in pretty much a consistent sort of experienced team throughout this year. But there's going to come a time where we need to see Zac Fisher. We need to see Lockie O'Brien. We need to see Tom DeConning. We need to see Liam Stocker. We need to see Paddy Dow. Okay? And I think that time is going to come pretty bloody soon. So it's a big thumbs up for me for Zac Fisher. Don't be too stressed. There's always a chance, guys, that someone from Western Australia wants to go home. And I'm sure a Fremantle or a West Coast Eagles will be inquiring to Zac Fisher's manager. And who knows? I don't know. I don't know him personally. We know, okay, through Instagram and posts that he's good mates with, I think he lives with Patrick Cripps. We know all that. So he's relatively happy here in Melbourne at the Carlton Football Club. But who knows whether he wants to go home or not. We'll just have to wait and see. All we know and all we can control is that he's got another year to run on his contract, and he's shown a bit already that he's going to be a pretty bloody handy player for us with some real attributes that we lack. I'll catch you again shortly. Go Blue Boys against the Eagles this weekend.